And Mustangs coming up this Friday on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer here. Baumhauer's Victory Grill is your big game headquarters all fall long. And with our new fall features, every day is game day at Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Try our pregame starters, including our homemade onion strings, always fresh hot lips, and our all-new Buffalo Dip and Chicken appetizer. Our main events include incredible chicken, fish, and shrimp selections, always featuring local Alabama Gulf seafood. And don't forget our Sunday Blitz, 11 to 6. Baumhauer's Victory Grill. Legendary fun, legendary food.
We love our pets, and when we need boarding or vet services, we want the best. That's why we chose Paradise Pet Resort and Spa. Everything our pets needed, all in one place. Boarding for both dogs and cats. Doggy daycare, grooming and spa services, web cameras, and top-notch vet care, too. It's a true Paradise Pet Resort for your furry friends, serving all of North Alabama. Find out everything you need to know and book services online at ParadisePetResortAndSpa.com. Located in Madison, just off 565 at Wall Triana, behind Cracker Barrel.
Plus. What's better than flipping through Hulu Plus Live TV's 75 channels of live sports, news, reality shows, game shows, and more? Riding a Pegasus through a rainbow? Being able to control fire with your mind? Well, since none of that stuff is probably going to happen, nothing's better than surfing through all the content you can watch with Hulu Plus Live TV, including
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone. WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This is what you need to know. A change at quarterback for the Jets. ESPN's Rich Cimini reporting the team's planning to start Joe Flacco against the Dolphins Sunday. Rookie Zach Wilson still not 100% with his knee sprain. Mike White threw 4 interceptions in Sunday's loss to the Bills. Flacco's experience likely a big factor in the decision, facing a blitz-heavy defense. NBA Warriors shooting guard Klay Thompson cleared for full contact. Another big step forward in his return from a torn Achilles. Also his started 5-on-5 work. Internal hope in the organization has always been that Thompson would be back at some point around Christmas. Mavericks guard Luka Doncic will miss tonight's game against the Suns because of left knee and ankle sprains. 10 Eastern ESPN TV. Tennis, Roger Federer won't play at the Australian Open, is doubtful for Wimbledon next June. Over the summer, he had a third knee surgery in an 18-month span.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Overall, a really nice Wednesday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. A fair mix of sunshine and cloud-covered winds out of the south, helping temperatures to climb into the lower 70s. Some of the usually warm spots could easily see the mid-70s, dropping into the lower 50s as we head into the overnight. Scattered showers are going to be a common thing through Thursday afternoon, even as we head into the early part of Thursday evening. Not everybody's going to get wet at the exact same time. For some of us, the day is going to be a complete wash. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The forecast calls for football with a strong wind blowing in from training camp.
Football was priority. It's a long football season. It's called tackle football.
A heavy rain of hitting coupled with an afternoon film session. Listen to all the coverage on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Who wants coffee? Anybody wants coffee?
Can you get me a dog?
The tire's tired.
He ain't good looking, but he sure ain't shy. He's a northern bred, southern fed, slick talking guy. Listeners in his posse are the junkyard dogs. The SEC from Tennessee to calling them hogs. From Gainesville up to Lexington to the Tide and Tiger Land. Nobody does it like Thom Abraham.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
Testosterone high today.
Yeah, Tom's a man, he's got the plan, he's really got it made. What a wife he's got, she's smoking hot, check out the junkyard babe. When everything is said and done, no one can beat his show. He's a high-tech redneck, Tony Soprano. If you love sports without the fluff, he's got the master plan. Cause nobody does it like Thom Abraham, yeah.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond?
must be Wednesday. I called it hump day.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Let's guess what today is.
Hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Yeah, baby, it's hump day. Hump day in the doghouse. Welcome in. Phone lines are open. Feel free to jump in. 256-576-4977. That will get you in on the Hump Day Show. You can also text the show, 7329-TA-SHOW. That's 732-982-7469. That is a great way to communicate with us. My personal Twitter feed is at Thom Abraham Show. The station's feed is at 97.7 ESPN. We are also on Twitch and Facebook at 97.7 ESPN, where you can watch the show as well, and on our YouTube channel at 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Like and subscribe there. Just go to 977ESPN.com and you can get links to all of that stuff. And while you're at it, get the app. The app is critical to you. The app, you
can take it near, you can take it far, you can take it in your car, you can take it to a bar.
What he said, okay? That's what you can do with the app. You'll also find links to our alternate programming there at Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4 for all kinds of great stuff. This Friday night, Madison Academy will be down in Coleman to take on Good Hope. Steve Moulton and Glenn Laird are on the call for that. It'll be on the air and on our primary stream, while Alabama basketball hosts Oakland Friday night on Zone 2, with coverage beginning at 6 there. Speaking of Alabama basketball, sloppy game last night at Coleman Coliseum as the Tide had to rally a bit in the second half for a 73-68 win over South Alabama. The game featured a total of 43 turnovers. 22 of them by Alabama. It was like somebody greased the ball before the game. Alabama actually trailed by 4 with 13 minutes to go in the game before going off on a 14-2 run that pretty much sealed the deal. That's not the type of game, though, that you want to see from the number 14 team in the country. Joey Blackwell from BamaCentral.com is coming up on that, and to preview the Tide and Arkansas on Saturday on CBS at 2:30. A win will secure Alabama's spot in the SEC title game, but the Iron Bowl, minus Bo Nix and Andres Carlson for Auburn, still looms before what I think is a playoff game in Atlanta for Alabama. Honest to goodness, I think it's a playoff game. I think it should be a playoff game, at least for Alabama. Alabama remained in the 2 spot in the playoff poll last night, as the top 7 remained unchanged. But nothing short of maybe an overtime loss to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Maybe that would get Bama in with 2 losses. And to be honest, though, even that doesn't feel fair. In just the fairness doctrine, to ask a 13-0 Bulldogs team to beat a 2-loss Tide team twice to win the Natty, just something that's not right there. Even though reasonable people would think that Alabama, with a razor-thin loss to Georgia, is still one of the top 4 teams in the country that got upset at Texas A&M earlier in the season. But what's the point of playing the games? You know what I mean? We don't just pick the 4 at the beginning of the year and say, that's it. What's the point of playing the games? We got playoff games coming up in the Big Ten. As far as I see it, the loser of the Sparty at Ohio State game this week is out. Boom, gone. Dude, out of here. As it should be.
Gone.
Just like I think, if Alabama loses to Georgia.
Gone.
I think. Same thing for Ohio State and Michigan next week. The loser of that game.
Gone.
And then there's the possibility of Wisconsin suddenly playing great ball, winning the Big Ten championship game over whoever emerges from the East, and then the entire Big Ten.
Gone.
I got to take a 2-loss Wisconsin team, even though they beat Ohio State or Michigan State in the championship game, at least not in this system. I would, in my system, I would take the 5 Power 5 champions. That's what I would do. But if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten championship game, the entire Big Ten,
gone.
As for Oregon, they got to win them all to hold their position. They lose any one of these games,
gone.
Beginning this week at Utah. And then probably again against Utah in the championship game out there. And it feels like the Big 12,
gone.
But maybe not. Feels like they've been eliminated. But what if Oklahoma State runs the table? What if they beat Oklahoma in Bedlam, which they never do, but what if they do? And then they beat Baylor again, who they beat earlier this season. 2 wins over Baylor, a win over Oklahoma in a Big 12 championship game. How high can they go? Which brings us to Cincinnati and their popcorn schedule. They have avoided the next best team in the American, Houston, for now. And the Cougars have finally cracked the top 25 at number 24. If Cincy runs the table, it's going to be hard to keep them out. It'll be hard to keep them out because of, political correctness. In a sense of, fairness, it would be hard to keep them out. Unless the current top 4 remain. If Alabama beats Georgia and goes to 1, Georgia stays in. If Oregon wins out, they're in. If the Big Ten champ has just 1 loss, they're in. And then Cincinnati,
gone.
Yeah. No matter what they do. So they're looking for chaos. Or at the very least, they're looking for Georgia to beat Alabama. Now, Hump Day is the day that we look around the sports world outside of football. Last week, we looked at the start of the NHL season, and today we'll take our first look at the NBA because we have to do something in the winter, right? After the whole football thing and everything is done, we have to do something in the winter. Don't tell me that if you're a sports fan, don't tell me you didn't watch any of the Golden State Brooklyn Nets game last night. You didn't watch any of it? Grizz is shaking his head no. Look, if Grizz wasn't watching it, I'm screwed. Because he's our resident NBA fan. If Grizz wasn't watching it, we're screwed. I watched some of it. By the way, I thought they changed that to that uniform all the time. Now they went back to the red, white, and blue. The whole court is different. Apparently, it's their city uniform. They're only wearing it 23 times. But they have a court that matches the uniform. Really? Is that how much we put into this? They still have, a black and white motif. But when they wear the city uniform, which is reminiscent of the Dr. J Nets, it's so much more beautiful than their regular uniform. They actually changed the entire court. They have 2 courts. They got a court that matches their uniform. They're accessorizing. Steph Curry knocked down 9 3-pointers. For the 37th time, he has 9 or more 3-pointers in a game. On his way to 37 points as the Warriors routed the Nets 117-99 in Brooklyn. Beau Estes from NBATV, NBA.com is coming up in hour number 2. Over there in the little glass room, playing the Platters That Matter and the Stacks of Wax and answering the phones, keeping us on the air, and not even watching the Nets and, and Golden State, which is off to I think 12-2 start. Come on, Chris.
Who in the blue hell are you? What is your name? It doesn't matter what your name is.
I'm the producer of this show. If I didn't step up, you're nowhere. I put this thing together out of spit and polish.
I think this is one of the traits of a really good producer. Keep the talent happy.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Now, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Testosterone high today. Testosterone, whatever the f*** it is.
It really doesn't matter what you think. All right? It really doesn't matter what you say.
Any of you play sports?
Chris, if you're not watching the NBA, I'm screwed, man. You're my resident NBA dude.
I know. I apologize. I was out with my family. My birthday's tomorrow, so celebrating a little early with the family.
The whole birthday week? Is that what you do? Are you one of those people like?
No.
Week?
No, they just wanted to go out that night last night, so we all went out. So no, I ended up watching the Canada-Mexico game.
Oh my God, you were watching
World Cup qualifier. World Cup qualifier.
It doesn't involve the U.S.
In the ice
Who the
bowl.
hell cares?
They were playing in an ice bowl. It was ridiculous.
Was it in Canada?
Yeah, it was Edmonton, I believe.
Oh my gosh!
And when it was ice around this. No, there was ice around the field, and the field was great. But it was just so cold.
Mexicans love that.
Dude, it was bad. There was a fight at the end. I mean, that's the reason why I watched it. I mean,
I didn't even hang around to fight. If I was the Mexicans, I'd be getting the hell out of it. Did they try to plant the flag? Is that what they tried to do?
No, one of the players said something to another player, and then it was just basically kind of just how baseball kind of is, where just everybody just kind of meets in the middle, and they just talk and push each other for a little bit, and it was more like their own teammates were just pushing them back than anything. Nobody was
soccer
fight.
Fights are like
it was like worse than an NBA.
Fights.
Yeah, it was worse than an NBA fight.
Yeah. Soccer fight and an NBA fight are about the same. I've seen more violent fights in my daughter's bedrooms when they were kids than you see in a soccer fight. Well, Canada won 2-1. I know that.
Yeah.
How about that? But I do know that Canada won the thing. I did not see any of it, but I did watch some of the Nets and Golden State. This Steph Curry, as I said in the open,
stud.
He had this is the 37th time Steph Curry has had 9 or more three-pointers, okay? Do you know what the next guy is on the list that has 9 or more three-pointers in a game? How many times they've done it?
Harden maybe, and there's probably...
It is James Harden. Wow! Oh, my gosh! Come on, were you cheating?
No, I swear. I
didn't look that up?
I didn't look that up or anything. No.
It's James Harden.
5 times?
9 times.
Oh, he's
James
done it 9
Harden
times too?
He 9 times. James Harden has had 9 threes or more. Damian Lillard has also done it 9 times, where he has had 9 threes or more in a game. And Steph Curry has done it 37 times. 37 times! I mean, that's just crazy, man.
No, and it's going to be really good for the Warriors, too. You got Steph playing at a high level. You got Klay coming back in full contact and practice and stuff. So
they said they're hoping Christmas for him.
They're going to be They're going to be a real hard team.
How are they doing this? I mean, this is just Steph. I mean, they sucked last year. What I'm wondering is what's going on around Steph, and they got Klay Thompson coming back at the end of the year. I wonder what the heck they're doing.
I mean, they did. I mean, it's not like a great sign, but they do have Anthony Wiggins, who is a veteran player. They've got Looney, who's one of their, he's been on the team forever. He's a guy that they can trust. You got Curry, of course. And it's just a team that it's a veteran team that knows how to play. And then when you got Steph Curry being able to make the shots that he's able to make, it's kind of like how on the opposite side when you look at the Nets and they're having to deal with can James Harden actually play in the NBA this year because of all that new rule where they can't do that whole rub off rule and try to throw the ball up and it counts as a foul and it's a shooting foul every time. And that's what Trae Young has to kind of change his game a little bit. And he scored 41 a couple nights ago and you just kind of players have to play a different way this year, and I think Steph Curry has always been that player to be able to weave through the defense, shoot threes, and just get guys open and make other players. That's the thing about Steph Curry that's so good too, though, is he makes other players better. It's like when KD came, he was just an added addition to an already talented team.
Yeah.
I mean, Draymond Green is still a good player, and he's still just He's one of those players. It's like Dennis Rodman, where it's just like I'm just gonna be there to be a bully and just do whatever I want, basically.
What's going on with Kyrie Irving? Does he not play at all now because of the COVID stuff?
I guess it's like some arenas he can't get into. I would think, or some, you know what I mean? They might have a thing where
maybe his own arena he can't get into. Hawks are off to a slow start, 6-9.
They had a 6-game losing streak. I mean, and then
that'll do it. Yeah.
I mean, it's bad. And when I think. They got back into it because he scored 41 against the Bucks and then Trae Young and then they ended up beating the Magic a couple nights ago. So
it's way early.
It's basketball. You never know. And the East is so good though. That's the thing about the East. It's a really good division this year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right now it looks like,
conference,
you know, I mean, you got hey, how about the Chicago Bulls? It's a better NBA when the Chicago Bulls are 10-4. I'm digging the
Alex
Bulls,
Caruso, man, he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a stud on that team. And then Lonzo Ball, I mean, it's just that team's doing really well.
So we'll get into some of that with Beau every other week right now. Every other week we'll do the hockey and we'll do the NBA. And so we'll try and cover some of that kind of stuff as well, because we have to kind of be ready to pay attention to a few other things. That's all I'm saying about that. All right, let me get Keith in here. Keith, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, I'm going to disagree with you again on the Alabama issue.
Yeah.
I know that's what you believe, but as far as you acting like they're just clearly out, when the playoff predictor says 62% chance they're in, that takes into account that they may lose to Georgia. And a close game is still get in.
Well, yeah, but the playoff predictor, I mean, you know, to me, the playoff predictor ain't worth, you know, the powder to blow it to hell. But the fact of the matter is, I think the playoff predictor is taken into account. I think there's at least a 50-50 chance that they're going to win the SEC championship game, even though I think they would be a 2-point underdog. Yeah, they're a 2-point underdog right now. That's nothing, all right? That's nothing. I think there's a 50-50. I think it's a toss-up that they can win the SEC championship game. So, obviously, they become the number 1 seed if they do that. And here's the other part of it.
There's a better chance than that. There's a better chance than 50-50, though, that they're getting into the playoffs. So that means they could get in even if they lose.
They could, according to that. See, according to that, there's like a 10% chance that they would get in with a loss. See, the playoff predictor is accounting for the chance that they would get in with a win. And if there's total chaos, I mean, certainly, look, if Oregon loses to Utah either time, they lose to Utah, they're out. They're completely out. That kills the so now, and then you got to think that the Big 12 has a really difficult time getting in. So, you know, if I think that's part of the playoff predictors, that they think Oregon might lose, and then Oklahoma State might lose, and then you're going to take Cincinnati and Alabama.
This year, with nobody other than Georgia really just standing out, if Alabama only lost a 3-pointer on the road to Texas A&M and a close game to number 1 undefeated Georgia, what are the 3 teams you're going to say are better than them?
Well, remember
the best 4 teams.
What did I say? I said reasonable people would say that Alabama is still one of the top 4 teams in the nation. However, is it right to ask Georgia to go 13-0 and have to beat Alabama again, a 2-loss team?
Now you're getting into political correctness like that. That's not what you're supposed to judge it by.
Yes.
You're supposed to judge everybody fairly, not what conference they're in.
Well, okay, all right, but there's political correctness, which you know I hate, and on the other hand, there is a certain level of fairness in terms of winning games. See, because to me, I would have Cincinnati barely in the top 10. And by the way, the computers, I'm going to go over this a little bit later on in the show. The computers and the people that aren't concerned with political correctness, like the Sagarin ratings and the Guru ratings that take in all of the computers and everything, they have Cincinnati at number 9. Cincinnati's not even close. They got them at number 9.
That's where they.
That's about where they should be. About where they should be.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
Alabama's going to have to beat Georgia twice themselves should this happen.
Well, and that's and there's fairness in that because Alabama lost to Texas A&M, and yes, it was a close loss, and yes, they played like crap, but you still lost on the field. Point. Doesn't winning on the field have to account for something in head-to-heads? It's like Michigan and Michigan State right now. I mean, Michigan is ahead of Michigan State right now. Michigan State beat them, and they're ahead of them. And I got to be honest with you, Ohio State's better than Oregon. Don't you think Ohio State's better than Oregon?
Absolutely. Oregon is not that good.
And Oregon's still ahead of Ohio State in the rankings because Oregon went to Ohio State and beat them. So it's like,
but why is it Michigan State ahead of Michigan then?
Well, that's the $92,000 question. I think part of it is this: Oregon beat Ohio State and they beat them good. I mean, that wasn't like a close game. I think the committee has taken into account that the officials made a mistake in the Michigan State game that would have changed that game. If they don't blow that call against Michigan, that's a touchdown. Michigan wins the football game. Michigan got a formal apology from the Big Ten officials later in the week saying that they missed the call, that it was a touchdown, not a fumble. And that changes the game, and Michigan ends up winning the game. So I think the committee is looking at it and say, well, really Michigan, and Michigan dominated most of that game. And Michigan State closed it out late, took advantage of a bad call. Oregon, they beat Ohio State pretty good in that game. I think it was a 2-score game. I mean, they beat them pretty good.
So here's the committee's supposed to get the best 4 teams, okay? But even taking that away, they also, you can't say they're not concerned about ratings, and they're not going to want to put a Cincinnati in there who gets destroyed when their data shows they would against an Alabama that's going to make a good game.
Yeah. Well, but don't you think there'd be a little bit of intrigue with that? I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't mind seeing Georgia and Cincinnati play a playoff game to see what the hell would happen. And here's the other part of it, Keith. If you believe
Cincinnati last year with a ton of people out, and Cincinnati fired up for their biggest game ever.
Right.
This year, Georgia's much better. They're going to destroy Cincinnati if it really meant the playoff picture.
We would think, and that would set back the group of 5 for 10 years if it were to happen. But that's why it's intriguing. You want to see what would happen, and those of us who believe in the Power 5 would want to see Georgia beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. But now let me ask. Now here's the other scenario: if Alabama were to lose a close game, an overtime game, or a really close game to Georgia, and they put Alabama in, are they going to move Alabama to 4? They're 2 right now. Are they going to make Georgia and Alabama play back to back? Because a lot of people are saying, wow, they're not. They would only move Alabama down 1 to put them at 3 so that they wouldn't play Georgia. But here's the flip side of that: if they put Alabama at 3 with the loss to Georgia, if they put Alabama at 3, do you think this committee really wants to see an all-SEC national championship game again? Because that's what would happen. Alabama would win, Georgia would win, and we see Georgia and Alabama play for the national championship.
No, you're sitting there admitting Alabama would be in the national championship game, but you don't think they should be in the Final Four.
Well, you see, we're talking about 2 different things. We're talking about fairness, and we're talking about are they the best? And it's arbitrary. You remember, Keith, when they put Ohio State in instead of Penn State? Penn State beat Ohio State, and they were the Big Ten champions, and they put Ohio State in and left Penn State home. And what happened? Ohio State went and got whacked. They got crushed in the playoff. They put the wrong team in. So sometimes you got to think about it. Again, is the committee perfect? Do they know really? Do we really know that a 2-loss Alabama team? Do we really know that a 2-loss Alabama team belongs in the playoff? I mean, teams lose playoff games.
I mean, you don't ever know, but I'm just saying they're supposed to pick what looks like the best 4 teams from the eye test and their data.
Yeah, what looks like. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right.
All right. Appreciate the show.
Appreciate it. He's right. I get it. All right, let's get a break. We'll come back. Joey Blackwell is next. We'll ask him that very same question from BamaCentral.com. He's coming up right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Looking for a great deal? Well, I've got one for you. Thom Abraham here for Valley Equipment Rental. And at Valley Equipment, if you rent after 3 on a Friday or on a Saturday morning, you're not due back until Monday morning. So basically, you're getting the entire weekend for the price of one day. And if you're in the service or are a vet, they'll knock another 10% off. Valley Equipment is locally owned and involved in our community through charities and even supporting local teams. And soon, they'll have a second location to handle even more equipment. Stay tuned for info on where that will be and when it will open.
Two Maids and a Mop. That's all you need to know to clean house. Two Maids and a Mop is an award-winning company, bonded and insured. Hire them for yourself, or they have gift cards if you want to make someone else's day. Find out more online at twomaidshuntsville.com. A maid service worth talking about. Two Maids and a Mop take care of everything. They supply all the cleaning equipment needed. Call 256-883-6243. The only finger you'll need to lift is the one to call them.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Hey, this is Justin with the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. We'd like to invite you to North Alabama's premier patio bar and grill, where at the factory, we have something going on each and every night. Monday night, steak night. Tuesday night, karaoke. Wednesday night, the Jeep community comes out for Jeep Jam. Thursday, it's bike night, the biggest in the valley. Friday and Saturday, live concerts on our 4,000 square foot patio, along with drink specials and a beautiful staff. What are you waiting on? We will see you at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Overall, a really nice Wednesday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. A fair mix of sunshine and cloud cover, winds out of the south, helping temperatures to climb into the lower 70s. Some of the usually warm spots could easily see the mid-70s, dropping into the lower 50s as we head into the overnight. Scattered showers are going to be a common thing through Thursday afternoon, even as we head into the early part of Thursday evening. Not everybody's going to get wet at the exact same time. For some of us, the day is going to be a complete wash. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Eli Gold, voice of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, more of the Thom Abraham Show on your home for Crimson Tide Sports, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Roll Tide.
By the way, Kramer said, I don't care if Cincinnati gets blown out. Let's see it in the playoff. Then some of the debate will either end or increase. Then he says Cincinnati deserves it over other teams that lost 2 times or have bad losses. Okay, so my flip side to that argument is, why does Cincinnati deserve it? Because they beat one team in the top 25? That's why they deserve it? They deserve it? When there's probably 15, 20 teams in the country that can play that schedule and be unbeaten? They go in there and beat Notre Dame early in the season, get one big win, one upset win, and then beat a bunch of popcorn teams, and they deserve it? I don't know if they deserve it. All right, Joey Blackwell joins us now from BamaCentral.com. He is on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Joey, welcome in. How are you?
Doing all right, Tom. How are you this morning?
I am in full throat today. That's how I am. I'm in full I am in full debate mode. We'll get to the football here in a moment because I think there's some interesting things about this Arkansas game against Alabama. But before we get to that, sloppy last night. I mean, 43 total turnovers in the game, 22 of them by Alabama. You don't want the number 14 team in the country to look like that. What was your takeaway from that game, and who greased the ball? Because it was a bad-looking basketball game.
Yeah, you know, it was kind of funny. I looked over. I remember we were probably halfway through the second half. And I looked over at my co-writer, Katie Wyndham, and said, "This game felt like a a game from 2 or 3 years ago. It felt like the old Alabama basketball. A lot of turnovers, them having to rely on one player to make shots. Which used to be Kyra Lewis. This year it was Jaden. Last night it was Jaden Shackelford. Just sloppy play all around. It was really surprising, especially after the first 2 games. We have to really not the best perimeter defense. They were South Alabama was able to get a lot of shots from beyond the arc up. We have to remember, when it comes to playing in the paint, that Jawan Gary, who has been really good the first couple of games, was out last night with an injury. I think that might have had something to do with protecting in the paint. But, yeah, overall, like you said, it was a very sloppy game. Fortunately, Alabama was still able to come out with a win. This is the type of game that Oates said, this is the type of game that they would have lost last year or the year before. Close games were never their forte, and it hasn't been Alabama basketball's forte in quite some time. But if they're able to still play a sloppy game and still able to come out with a victory, that says something about where this Crimson Tide team's headed.
Well, they're down by 4 with like 13 minutes to go when they go off on the 14-2 run. And, that's the sign of a talented team. That's a sign, to me, that's like the kid, that's like me in high school. That's the kid who has a 77 average and gets a 98 on the final exam. You know what I mean? It's like you're not doing the work throughout. The talent is there, but they didn't play that way for 40 minutes. When they needed to, okay, we're down 4, they did the proverbial flip the switch, go on a 14-2 run, and pretty much put the game away. So that's the thing that Nate Oates will be able to grill them on, is that's the effort you need throughout the game against anybody. Doesn't matter who's on the other side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And then, another thing is that one highlight of the game, we finally see J.D. Davison lay down a massive dunk, which was quite impressive. That was actually, I think that was the end of the 14-2 run.
Yeah.
Derek Miles also had a solid dunk as well. And I asked us after the game, how dunks really, in tight games like that, what they do as far as giving teams momentum. And he said that those were 2 huge moments for them because prior to both of those moments, I think the Miles dunk was when they were down, and that gave them momentum to kind of spark that 14-2 run a couple of minutes later. Because when you can get your bench into the game, that really helps with momentum, and getting the crowd in the game, even more importantly, really helps build momentum. And those were 2 huge moments that honestly might have been the difference in the game, because you look at the stat sheet, the stats are remarkably similar. Alabama was 44% from the floor. South Alabama was 38%. The turnovers were 22 on and out for Alabama, 21 for South Alabama. Just remarkably close performance for both teams. And honestly, you have to give South Alabama credit too as well. They came and showed their A game and give Alabama a lot of problems.
You mentioned a J.D. Davison dunk, but that's his only basket of the game in 22 minutes, and he only put up 3 shots in 22 minutes. Is there a concern there with that amount of time on the floor that he's not getting a look? Is that him, not asserting himself yet, or just not getting the looks? What do you think about that? 22 minutes in the game, he takes 3 shots and makes 1.
Well, that's been a trend with JD all year. He's had a lot of open looks, but instead has opted to throw the ball to somebody who probably in his mind he thinks is more capable, like Jaden Shackelford or Javon Quinterly, Keon Ellis. I think that it's still growing pains with him. It's kind of funny, being a 5-star recruit and McDonald's All-American, you think this guy would want to come in here and play a huge role, but I think he has the mindset of right now he's kind of just getting warmed up and getting acclimated to things at the college level. We obviously, as fans and as the media, we want to see him putting up more shots, because Lord knows he can shoot very well from beyond 3, and he can also provide some very entertaining performances in the paint.
Yeah.
We just haven't seen a lot of it so far, but hopefully as the season rolls on, by the time we get to SEC play, he'll be more comfortable and we'll start seeing him have more offensive production.
Yeah, Darius Miles came off the bench with big minutes too. I mean, he played 20 minutes in the game and had 10 points, so that was good. That's a good contribution off the bench right there.
Yeah, Miles has been fantastic. He I think his first 7 shots of the season from beyond the arc, I think 6 of those 7 he hit at 3-pointers. So he started off the season with a 6-0 streak from beyond the arc, and then he did have that 1 miss. Last night he was also very well. He's quickly growing to be one of their best offensive shooters. He only had 2 3 attempts last night and missed both, but still, like you said, 10 points in 20 minutes on the court. Very impressive what we've seen from him so far. A quiet season last year, but he's really getting the ball rolling early on. And that having a young guy that might not start but can provide you with points off the bench is something this Alabama team has needed for the past couple of years, especially in the bigs, and Miles has done a great job of that so far.
Joey Blackwell with us from BamaCentral.com. All right, I am taking some heat from some listeners. Don't like the fact that I continue to maintain that an Alabama loss to Georgia in the SEC championship game should eliminate them from the playoff, and there is this thought that a 2-loss Alabama team could still get selected to the playoff because we're dealing with a committee here, and I do say that reasonable minds, if it were a close loss to Georgia, reasonable minds would still say that Alabama is one of the top 4 teams in the country. But should a 2-loss team go go in over a 1-loss Oregon or a 1-loss Big Ten champion? Now, if Oregon loses, and a lot of people think they could lose this week at Utah, but if Oregon loses, that eliminates the Pac-12. And if somehow Wisconsin beats a 1-loss team out of the Big Ten East, that may eliminate the Big Ten. And then all of a sudden you look back to Alabama, even if they are a 2-loss team, and then there's the issue of Cincinnati. But this is not about political correctness, because I'm far from politically correct. But there is a certain amount of fairness involved there. At some point in time, would it be fair for Georgia to have to, a 13-0 Georgia team, to have to beat Alabama, a 2-loss Alabama team, twice, to win a national championship? What's your take on the possibility of a 2-loss Alabama team still getting selected to this thing, if it were to happen?
Well, I agree. I tend to agree with you in that, with if Alabama's loss to Georgia is incredibly lopsided, if Georgia just comes in and beats them, 38-10, then obviously I think that there should be other teams that should go up there, because clearly it's been proven that Alabama would probably struggle with Georgia again in the playoff. That being said, if Alabama can have a loss within 7 points, I think that there is a case to be made that, hey, these two teams are still the 2 best teams in the country. It's just that Georgia was able to edge them out. And I think that's deserving of a rematch. I think that Alabama is still growing. I think we've seen some remarkable improvements over the past couple of weeks, particularly on the defensive side of the football. I think that they are getting better. Georgia, on the other hand, is having some injury issues as of the past couple of weeks. And I think that a 2-loss Alabama team would deserve to go, because when you compare them to the rest of the schedules, like you said, Oregon could potentially have another loss. Ohio State could have another loss potentially. Cincinnati, while they are 10-0 and will probably be undefeated at the end of the season, they've had some struggles against some unranked teams. And put any team with that schedule, and how many, probably more than half of college football might be also 10-0. If we're giving Cincinnati so much credit, why aren't we also crediting UTSA for their 10-0 start? Why is UTSA 22 and Cincinnati 5? I mean, obviously that has to do something with strength of schedule, but is it really? Cincinnati's strength of schedule is not that much more difficult than UTSA's. So why isn't the conversation around them? But I think that Alabama would deserve to go. If it's a close loss, I think they should stay in the top 4, especially if there's a huge slate of 2-loss teams. Alabama would clearly rise above the rest. But for now, if it's a lopsided win by Georgia, then they might have to fall to 5. We'll just have to wait and see.
So in the event that Oregon does run the table and Ohio State does run the table, if that were to happen, and now Georgia's 13-0 and Alabama is 11-2 at that point, and Cincinnati is 13-0, and they've beaten Houston, who they've avoided all season. Now Houston has just crawled into the top 25 at number 24. So say they beat Houston and the American. If we have all of those 1-loss teams and undefeated team, 2 undefeateds and 2 1-loss, would you still think? I mean, it would take incredible amount of stones for them to put 11-2 Alabama in. It would be basically over, a 13-0 Cincinnati, even though the schedules are vastly different.
Yeah, I think so. Do I think honestly a 2-loss team will make it in the CFP? I don't think so. But if I were a voter and if I were trying to make a case in that committee room, I would still make the case for them. But I think it's going to be if Oregon, Ohio State, and Cincinnati win out, and Alabama has that 1 loss against Georgia in the SEC title game, I think they do slip out of the top 4. I just think that's just how I see the committee voting, and it would only be fair, because if Alabama has 2 losses and everybody else has 1 and Cincinnati is still undefeated, I mean, in what world would it be fair that a Cincinnati team gets up from the playoff?
Yeah. Well, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about fair versus, and again, fair sounds real lefty. It sounds real politically correct, but we're talking about fairness in terms of what's gone on the field. It has to count for something. What has happened actually on the field of play, has to count for something, and so fairness is it. The reality is that a 2-loss Alabama team playing a 13-0 Cincinnati team in a meaningful game, Vegas would have Alabama a 12-point favorite probably in that game. I mean, that's that's the thought process, is that that's a more than one-score game. But that's not where we're at. All right, Joey Blackwell with us here. To the game this weekend, there's a lot of fascinating things. First of all, Alabama secures its spot in Atlanta with the win here against Arkansas. Of course, that's meaningless because they still have to then beat Auburn and then probably beat Georgia to get in to where they need to be. But they would go ahead and secure the spot with a win. I think this is a fascinating matchup for the defense of Alabama because Arkansas is like a mini Georgia. They run the ball really well. Number 6 in the country, 233 yards on the ground. They don't pass the ball great. But I think for Alabama's defense, which is 3rd in the country against the rush, only allowing 81.5 yards per game against the rush, this is a great rushing offense against a great rushing defense, and this is a little bit of a barometer of what it might look like in 2 weeks. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that will be a key to the game. I think Arkansas's rushing attack has really, really developed over the course of the season. They're one of the best rushing teams in the SEC right now. I think it really comes down to if Alabama is able to contain the rush, which they've proven time and time again that they've been able to do. I think another point of the game is the rushing on the offensive side for Alabama. This is a scary situation for Alabama considering it just ran 6 yards against LSU. And this Arkansas defense hasn't allowed more than 135 rushing yards a game, since getting ripped up by Ole Miss early in October. But Bama's going to probably come out, rolling in early and score. I think early on, the passing defense for Arkansas hasn't been as effective, and Alabama has been starting to utilize the pass a little bit more the past couple of weeks, and being able to finally get some breakaway plays, which they were struggling with early on in the season. I think there'll be plenty of chances for Arkansas to push through. But I think Alabama's defense will be able to hold them off, time and time again. I think there will be definitely some rushing touchdowns on the Arkansas side, but Alabama will definitely get some stops. It's going to be up to Alabama's offense to get a couple of scoring drives in there and kind of pull away. Will Alabama pull away early, like they did last year against Arkansas? I don't think so. This is a very much improved Arkansas football team, but still, this is one of those teams. Alabama only has to win one game between Arkansas and Auburn clinch the SEC West, and obviously you don't want a loss because even if you do lose and win the SEC West, the odds of you making the playoffs with 2 losses, a loss to Auburn, Arkansas looks a lot worse than a loss to Georgia. Excuse me. This is going to be a very interesting game. Arkansas I really am impressed with what Sam Pittman has done this season, and really looking forward to covering it because it's going to be a battle. I think a lot of Alabama fans are kind of dismissing this game early on and kind of already assuming that they've won the SEC West. But Arkansas can really throw some wrenches into the mix.
Yeah, it's interesting that Alabama, even with the 6-yard output, and again, that includes 50 yards worth of losses on sacks last week because of the way they do the cockamamie stats rushing-wise. But even with the 6-yard output last week, they still have 162 yards a game in rushing offense. And another quirky thing in the stats is the fact that Alabama, out of the 130 teams in FBS, Alabama is 68th in rushing the ball, and Arkansas is exactly 68th in defending the rush. So something will have to give there. It could look a little like the Ole Miss game, to be honest with you. It might look like that, and certainly Ole Miss beating Texas A&M and Mississippi State going into Auburn and beating Auburn, that didn't hurt Alabama's optics, right? Because Alabama having beaten both the teams from Mississippi and those teams going and playing like that last week, I think probably helped out Alabama a little bit. Now you just exploded my brain. I have not even considered what in God's name would the committee do if Alabama lost this game, beat Auburn, and then was 10-2 in Atlanta, and then beat undefeated number 1 Georgia team. then you have to put them in. I mean, if they're 11-2 and they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, when is an SEC champion not gone? You know, I mean, it's impossible to even think that couldn't happen. Now that's the brain blower, I think, right there. All the time, I'm always thinking about an 11-2 Alabama team with a loss to Georgia. I'm not thinking about an 11-2 Alabama team with a win against Georgia. Oh my God, they'd have to expand the playoff this year. They'd have to decide before Christmas to expand the playoff.
Well, you know, with an 11-2 record, you know, and with heading into the Georgia game, so let's hypothetically say that Alabama is 11-1 heading into the Georgia game. You know, this game really is only, as of the opening line, is only a 3-point margin between Georgia and Alabama, and
right.
It's the first that Alabama. I'm pretty sure, I can't remember the specific year, but it's the first year it's the first game that Alabama hasn't been favored to win, and I think it was the 2014 Georgia game. I think that was the last time that Alabama wasn't favored to win a game, and it might have been 2015. I can't remember the specific year, but either way, it's been a long time, and no doubt that Alabama's going to come into that game with a chip on their shoulder with something improved, because you know, being down and not being predicted to win a game for the first time in quite some time, that's really going to help fire them up, I think. No matter how much Nick Saban says the team doesn't pay attention to rat poison, they do stuff like that. And I think that could really be a factor. But yeah, you know, losing one of these last two games and then beating Georgia, it's honestly, it would kind of serve what the Texas A&M game served for them earlier this year. Yes, it was a really close loss and it ultimately demeaned the team, but at the same time, Alabama's really turned around and really improved since that game. Aside from the LSU game, that was a kind of an outlier, but this team has really turned it up, and I think that a loss late could definitely serve to propel them into the championship game, should it happen.
Joey Blackwell has been our guest on Bama Hoop and Bama Football. Joey, I appreciate you, man. Great stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom.
All right, we grab a break. You know, there's always that 1 week. There's always that 1 week where it's like real calm, you know, with the committee, and you're like, why did these people even fly to Dallas? What a waste of time that was, and money. All right, we'll come back. Phone lines are open on the other side. It's the Thom Abraham Show, 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Ann Adams with Berkshire Hathaway Rise Real Estate is the one name to know if you're buying or selling real estate. With years of local experience, Ann Adams offers buyers in-depth knowledge of the local housing market and will narrow available properties down to those you'll be interested in so you can save time when shopping for your new home. If you're ready to sell, Ann offers a seamless process using accurate pricing and expert negotiation skills to make sure you get a fair price for your home. Call Ann Adams today at 256-337-2625 or log on bhhsriserealestate.com.
Chad, cue the cheesy Italian music. So you're in charge of the dinner spot, and the family is a hard group to please. Dad wants award-winning 21-day-age certified Angus beef. Mom craves authentic Italian food like great-grandma. Sissy pretty much won't eat anything but fresh seafood. And old life of the party, Uncle Walter, likes to enjoy a cigar after dinner with some live local entertainment and some killer cocktails. So you think you're in a pickle? Well, you're not. Relax. I'm Tom Chapman, chef at Nick's Ristorante at 10300 Bailey Cove Road, just south of Weatherly. We have all that and more. Our friendly and helpful staff is eager to help you Tuesday through Saturday, starting at 5. So, corral that crazy crew of yours and give us a call at 256-489-8280 or tell them to check us out at nicksristorante.com. I promise you, the gang will all think you're a culinary cruise director of awesomeness if you take them all to Nick's. See you soon. Ciao. Okay, Chad, kill that music.
Nick's is for patrons 19 or older.
In 2 years, you can have a career that makes sense for you. Skill up and earn a living working with your hands. Or work on the front line of computer information systems and cybersecurity. Get a degree that lets your healing heart take care of people. Help design and manufacture the most advanced cars, machinery, or even aerospace components. In just 2 years, great careers are within your reach at Drake State Community and Technical College. Visit drakestate.edu to apply.
Brooks & Collier has always been about making the most of your outdoors. Our lush greenhouse and new furniture ideas will inspire you, but we're also about value. Our brands are so handsome, they'll make themselves comfortable inside or out, and so well made, they'll weather the weather for many years to come. Our staff can consult you on the right choices, And Lucy for sure can show us the sofa that's the most comfortable. Make the most of your outdoors. Meridian Street and at brooksandcollier.com.
I got rice cooking in the microwave. Got a 3-day beard I don't plan to shave. And it's a goofy thing, but I just gotta say, hey, I'm a-doing all right. Yeah, I think I'll make me some homemade soup. Feeling pretty
Segment of the Thom Abraham Show is brought to you by our good friends at North Alabama Mortgage, serving all of Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida with conventional VA, FHA, and USDA loans, purchases, and refinances, which I'm in the midst of right now with the folks at North Alabama Mortgage. I use them, and they do a tremendous job. Look, I use the people I endorse. You think I endorse them and then use somebody else? No, I use the people that I endorse, and I use North Alabama Mortgage for all my mortgage needs. And they are VA specialists. They work very hard for the veterans as well. Go to NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. Speaking of veterans, let's go to the lines with Keith, the Michigan fan. Keith, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing all right, big dog. Hanging in there.
I hear you.
Hey, before I get to my sports take, you was talking about political correctness and fairness.
Right.
Now, here's something for you to think about. Back in the 80s and 90s when they came up with affirmative action.
All right.
You remember that, right?
It was before that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know who benefited the most from affirmative action?
Who benefited? Well, I would think it would be minorities, but who?
White women. They had more contracts than anybody, but actually their husbands were actually behind the company. I worked for 2 companies who were female-owned, which were minorities,
right?
But they were white, but their husband was the vice president.
Yeah, that happened a lot. That goes back before the 90s. That was actually in the 80s that happened, because I was also in business at that time, and I know of multiple people. I actually lost a couple of contracts to a couple of businesses that were put in the wife's name, and it was a sham. But they got the consideration as being a minority-owned company. There were ways, though, that the government was able to try and crack down on that to make sure that the quote-unquote woman that was at the head of that company was actually involved in the business.
Yeah, if there's a way to get around something, people will do it.
Yeah, they'll try and do it.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
but there were other people that did. Hey, there were people that did the same thing, Keith, with minorities in terms of, I know there were some white guys that had businesses that had high-ranking officials that were black guys in their business, and they would they actually put the business in the black guy's name with a little handshake, deal with the owner, saying that, look, we're going to get all this extra business because you're the quote-unquote owner, but this is our deal. You know what I mean? That type of thing. So that was happening a lot. Yeah. People are bad that way. They just do stuff they shouldn't do.
Like I said, people are people regardless of where you are in the world.
Yeah.
It was a heartbreaking loss for my Michigan boys last night. Now, we got 3 5-star freshmen, and I think they're going to get a lot better. But when Juwan Howard got that 5-year extension, I knew we was going to lose the game. As soon as they announced it, he got a 5-year extension. It's like, oh, we're going to lose this game. I've seen that picture before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Yep. All right, thanks a lot.
All right, man, appreciate you. Text window, just because a team gets stomped, you said it proves that they shouldn't have been there. Come on, man. Clemson stomped Alabama. Does that mean Alabama shouldn't have been there? No. That was in the championship game when Clemson stomped Alabama. Ohio State got stomped in the semifinal game. See, Alabama proved they deserved to be there by winning in the semifinal game. If you get stomped in the semifinal game, a la Michigan State, a la Ohio State, a la Notre Dame, then yeah, you can question whether or not that team belongs. But if you get stomped in a championship game, you just got stomped in a championship game.
Ohio State twice, by the way.
Yeah, in the semis? Yeah, you're right. All right, coming up, Beau Estes next, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now, and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you, so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Orange is the color power of construction, the color of Kubota and Huntsville Tractor and Equipment. Those who need to get things done trust Kubota's mini excavators, compact track loaders, and the best keeps getting better with the all-new mini compact loader from one of the top dealers in the country. More than 50 years of family service, every part in the book, and folks who know what to do with them. You'll be seeing orange with Huntsville Tractor and Equipment.
Come on, let's go to work.
Switching season is here at WOW. Get gig speed internet for just $64.99 a month at wowway.com. Plus, get a year of HBO Max included and $300 on us. Wow. After the promotional period, HBO Max will auto-renew at then prevailing rate. Limited to new customers with auto-pay and paperless billing. Offer subject to change. Restrictions and terms apply.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This is what you need to know. A change at quarterback for the Jets. ESPN's Rich Cimini reporting the team's planning to start Joe Flacco against the Dolphins Sunday. Rookie Zach Wilson still not 100% with his knee sprain. Mike White threw 4 interceptions in Sunday's loss to the Bills. Flacco's experience likely a big factor in the decision, facing a blitz-heavy defense. NBA Warriors shooting guard Klay Thompson cleared for full contact. Another big step forward in his return from a torn Achilles. Also his started 5-on-5 work. Internal hope in the organization has always been that Thompson would be back at some point around Christmas. Mavericks guard Luka Doncic will miss tonight's game against the Suns because of left knee and ankle sprains. 10 Eastern ESPN TV. Tennis, Roger Federer won't play at the Australian Open, is doubtful for Wimbledon next June. Over the summer, he had a third knee surgery in an 18-month span.
Two 576-576-4977.
Hold it.
That's 256-576-4977.
You need to be more like a dog.
Like what you guys are doing. You've got your fingertip on the pulse of your listeners. You guys know what they're talking about.
Be a dog.
God bless the show. You are the Messiah.
We need more dogs.
This is the best show on radio.
The big dog, Thom Abraham, is here with you.
Hey, I see you. Hey, I see you, dog.
So settle in and get your bark on.
That's my dog.
Now live, here he is, the big dog.
Let's go, baby!
Thom Abraham.
How you doing? 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 Look, I don't speak Spanish.
I don't know how to say this, so I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I think you're a psycho.
Do you know who I am?
I mean, that guy sounds like Elle McPherson farting into Miles Davis' trumpet.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond?
Get off my lawn.
I have to drag my Yankee ass out of here.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Thom Abraham Show. It's brought to you by our good friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Woody Anderson Ford for all your service needs. It's Woody Anderson Ford, Woody Anderson of Madison. You know, it doesn't have to be a Ford to get service to Woody Anderson Ford. But if you're like me, you're a Ford family. I mean, I just bought our our seventh Ford from Woody Anderson Ford. Got the Junkyard Babe, this beautiful white ragtop Mustang, and she loves it. She deserves it. Been a lot of years hauling kids around and everything else, and finally doesn't have to do that. And I said, baby, whatever you want. And she said, I'd love a ragtop Mustang like your two sons have. And so that's what she got. So that's really, really cool that you could do that. And that's what you get at Woody Anderson Ford, gold certified at Woody Anderson Ford. You do a tremendous job. And if you have it serviced at Woody Anderson Ford, it'll last forever as well. All right, if I was ever going to talk to a guy and try and define the differences between political correctness and fairness, it would probably be Beau Estes. He's one of the smartest guys I know. And he's at the other end of the spectrum from me. And I am getting accused by you people, some of you, of acting politically correct in saying that an 11-2 Alabama team probably shouldn't be in the playoff. There's a difference between fairness and political correctness. Don't ask me to explain it, but I'm just saying there's a little bit of a difference. Beau Estes joins us now from a mountain in Colorado from NBATV and NBA.com. Beau, welcome in. How are you?
I'm under tremendous pressure now after that introduction, but I'm intrigued by this Alabama story. Is there? Tell me, please.
Well, the thing is that say Cincinnati finishes 13-0, and let's say that Alabama loses a really close game to Georgia in the SEC championship game. They get beat by 3 points in the SEC championship game against the number one team in the country. They finish 11-2. And let's say that Oregon has finished 13-1 and Ohio State has finished 13-1 and that they've won out as well. The question then becomes, do you still keep a 2-loss Alabama team in the 4, even though in your heart of hearts you know that Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in the country and they just lost to the number one team in a really close game? Is it fair to keep them in there and make – I don't care about Cincinnati as much. Is it fair to make Georgia have to beat Alabama twice to win a national championship if Georgia's 13-0? And that's where the issue of fairness versus being politically correct come in.
Yeah, because I'll just set aside that and I'll say, I think for Alabama to win a national championship, they're going to have to beat Georgia twice right now. I think that's the way it's going to have to go. There's another thing here, Tom. Let me ask you, in that scenario, imagine if Alabama and Cincinnati were to play on a neutral site.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who's the favorite in that matchup, and by how much?
Vegas says that Alabama's a 12.5-point favorite in that game.
Yeah. See, that's where it gets tough for me because the system that they've set up probably dictates that they put Cincinnati in there, but I'm really tempted to put the team that I think is a double-digit favorite in there. Cincinnati has looked not so great in some wins.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you I have relatives in Cincinnati that will howl at the moon if this scenario plays out. They will go nuts. That's a small faction of college football fans. It's not a huge faction of college football fans. I'm torn on that, but I think in my heart of hearts I want to put the best 4 teams in there. Cincinnati's probably proven it on the field, but in your mind, you know that Alabama's better. And I don't think I've answered it by saying that. Do you?
Well, that's the rub that we all have, because this is the only sport on the planet that we do this. This is the only thing on the planet that we do. If the Golden State Warriors end up winning 68 games this year, and the Lakers end up winning 65 games, in the way they've started, it doesn't look like they will. But let's say the Lakers win 65 games, and then all of a sudden Atlanta gets hot in the East and comes out of the East, with 51 wins. We don't say, well, yeah, but Golden State and the Lakers are the 2 best teams in the NBA. Let's let them play for the championship. We don't do that. You win your way in, and if somebody were to dump Golden State in the first round, they don't get to go. That's it. You lost.
Well, let me ask you this. Are people in favor of an expansion of the playoffs there now?
Yes. Most people are. Yeah, most people are. I
think you're in a bad situation with this because I think Georgia's going to be favored against Alabama. And
right now by 2.5. Right now they say 2.5 Vegas. Yeah.
Georgia wins that game, and if you talk to Beau from every year from 2000 to 2020, I laugh at Georgia in a matchup with Alabama. But this year, I'm suckered into believing that they're better. I really am. And I could be proven wrong. Alabama could beat them by 3 touchdowns for all I know. But right now, I think Alabama's in a really tough spot because I do think Georgia probably beats them. So I think they're going to need some help in that scenario. I really do, because I don't think they're going to let Cincinnati sit on the sidelines if Georgia beats Alabama and Cincinnati's undefeated. I don't think that happens.
And then here's the one that blows your brain up. What if Alabama gets tripped up, let's say this week, against Arkansas, decent Arkansas team? What if Alabama lost that game to Arkansas? They win next week against Auburn, which puts them in Atlanta. Now they're 10-2, and then they beat Georgia. If they beat Georgia at 10-2, they still go.
That's better because we know the math then.
Yeah,
because we'll know the playoff math then. We'll know if Alabama loses and then they beat Auburn and then somehow they slip in at number 4, we know the scenario. If they beat Georgia, they're in.
Yeah,
that's almost better if that happens because all the cards are on the table at that point.
Well, then nobody argue that. Yeah, nobody will argue. I don't think anybody would argue that point.
I prefer that.
I don't think anybody's arguing right now that the Golden State Warriors are the best team in the NBA, and I don't know how. I'm trying to figure out because I'm just starting to look more and more at the association. It felt like it started early. College basketball started early. Everything started early, and it feels like, except for NASCAR, which lasted way too long. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this team. I watched a decent amount of that game last night against the Nets. And I'm looking at this team, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, Klay Thompson's not back yet. It's not like they got 2 of the 3, the big 3 and all that stuff. It's still Steph Curry and everybody else. How are they 12-2 right now and so dominant over a good Nets team?
Well, there's a couple of things that are going on here with the Warriors. First of all, obviously Steph Curry is playing at an MVP level, as good or better than anybody in the league right now. So that's a good starting point. Draymond Green's defense is superior right now, and he's a wonderful facilitator. But to me, the key thing that's happened with the Golden State Warriors is the development of a player named Jordan Poole, who looks like one of those guys that just sat in practice every day for the last couple of years and said, I'm going to just try to do everything that Steph Curry does, exactly like Steph Curry does it, and see how that works out. And it's starting to work out for Jordan Poole in a wonderful way. So that's one thing. Also, Andrew Wiggins, the former number 1 pick in the draft all those years ago, is playing better. He's not quite an all-star right now, but he's playing much better. He's fit into this system really well with the Golden State Warriors. He's a more efficient player. He's a much better defender. I mean, he's a guy that's 6'8" and can jump as high as anybody in the entire association on defense and really sort of bother shots. So I think that's a critical key for them. There's a young player that they have that was a top pick in last year's draft named Jonathan Kuminga.
Kuminga looks good.
To grow up. Yeah, he's starting to grow up, and I've heard sort of the Kawhi Leonard comparison. So they have hit a couple of things that really seem to be working out for them. And the rumors we hear, Tom, are that Klay Thompson does not look good. He looks great. Yeah. I mean, really great.
It's still Christmas, though, right? Before we see him, you think? I still want a month.
I think so. And the other thing is, Tom, you've been doing this long enough, and so have I. It's November. Matt Weiner tweeted something out last night, one of our NBA TV anchors, that, Steph Curry's the MVP before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Which is sort of a way of saying they're great now, but we got a long, long way to go. So we'll see how it shakes out. But right now, they look really, really good. And in saying that, they made Brooklyn look really, really bad in that run last night. So right. Brooklyn's got some work to do. And Steve Nash admitted as much last night in the postgame that they don't belong in the conversation. They're not on the level of those teams. And so it's going to take some work for them.
Well, we are 15 games in, which is almost 20%. So, I mean, I think that there is something here that we can gain from this, and from this start that we have seen here. And so I think that that's a big part of it. The thing about Steph Curry is this is almost like he pressed pause with all the injuries and everything else over the last couple of years. Now he starts having a year like this. We have debated in the past as to whether Steph Curry belongs in the top 10 all time. Is he top 6? Where is he on the Michael Jordan list? Where would that guy be? That was his 37th game where he had at least 9 3-pointers last night. The next closest on that list is James Harden at 9. You know what I mean? 9. So he's the greatest shooter of all time, right? I mean, we got to say he's the greatest shooter of all time. And he now, if he has another run like this, another MVP or something like this, now I think you have to start saying, well, you know, where is he going to be on this all-time? If he wins another championship and another MVP, now all of a sudden he goes into that single-digit area of all-time greats. You agree or disagree?
Let me give you my thoughts on that. First of all, I do think you're right. I think if he wins an MVP and they win another NBA title, he is in that top 10. I really do believe it. Of active players, LeBron is clearly the best player we have right now. Steph Curry and KD have been close for a long time. The thing that is a positive for Steph Curry is his peak has been stunning. The thing that's a little bit of a trouble spot for Steph Curry is he's not accumulated a great number of career statistics.
Right.
Generally, like in points, he doesn't have as many career points as Antoine Jameson, for instance. He's not even to the 20,000 point mark, which is, look, the 20,000 point mark is a marvelous statistic. But there's a lot of people with that. Mitch Richmond has that, people like that. And
right.
Steph's at 33 years old. He started slow in his career. I think it was his 4th season when he hit 20 points a game. So it took him a while to figure this thing out. But once he figured it out, it's just been bonkers. No player is more responsible for the change in the way the NBA looks than Steph Curry this century, period. Steph changed the way the game is played. And so that, to me, adds to his overall legacy. And I think on top of that, you know, like if you want to add in some other stuff, he's a perfect guy off the court. He's just a perfect guy. He's a perfect team leader. Everybody seems to love the guy. It's just everything about him is wonderful, and he's brought joy to this franchise. And I think here's the other thing. I think he may be the most enjoyable player to watch in the NBA this century too. I think it's sort of that, like you mentioned Michael Jordan, it's sort of that hold your breath, what's he going to do next when he gets going. And last night was one of those games where as soon as he gets across half court and he's hot, you're wondering, when's he shoot?
Yeah.
He's that good, and it's going down. So I'm blown away by him. I love watching him. That's not to take anything away from Kevin Durant or anything else, but I just think Steph Curry has hit a level that really, you said single digits. I like that. I like somewhere in the 8 to 10 range when it's all said and done for him.
By the way, speaking of the Nets, where does the line start to have the Nets wear that gear like full time, all the time? I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, the Dr. J in me is just absolutely was loving that last night. They're going to wear that thing 23 times, that city uniform 23 times. I was hoping that they had actually made that their primary. That is so many times better than what they wear when they wear their basic black and white gear that they introduced back in 2012 when they moved to Brooklyn. And I can't believe they actually have a court that they accessorize. You know what I mean? They accessorize with a court when they wear that uniform. They have an entire court that matches the uniform. That was glorious to watch last night. I'm just going to say that about that. You know.
Think about the way the uniforms have changed since when we were very young. The number of different uniforms they wear, some great, some awful. And you and I both know what it's about. It's marketing and it's dollars and stuff like that. But sometimes you hit on something that people really, really gravitate towards. And I think that's the case with Brooklyn and what they're doing. Now they just, look, I'm about to make a wisecrack about Brooklyn. They're still a team that's doing very well this year, but that's a team, I'm going to say his name, if Kyrie Irving comes back, that's a team that could wear those uniforms in an NBA Finals and look really, really good.
What is? Give us an update on Kyrie Irving, because I mean I know it's the COVID thing and he can't play in certain buildings or whatever. What's the story with this kid? Is he going to play ever? What's the deal?
I think I've thought about this in a different way than I think most people are thinking about. I think that the way that some of those treatments are going and some of the optimism about some of those treatments may bring down some of the guardrails, because remember, it's just a local ordinance that prevents him from playing in Brooklyn. And so the team has said, we don't want you just for road games. and you're not going to play just in Brooklyn. So I think there may be a third-way solution. I don't think necessarily he's going to cave and get a vaccine. I don't think that the team's going to just let him play road games. But I do think some of these treatments that are coming out that seem to be so effective, and as vaccine numbers continue to go up, may offer a third-way alternative that gets him in the door. And I think, look, those Brooklyn players really want him in the door, man. I know they want him out there. So that's my thinking on it, because apparently there's a new mayor up in New York. Look, I don't follow New York politics that closely, but there's a new mayor in New York who for a while sort of considered the idea of dropping that mandate. And that has gone by the wayside. So that possibility for the Nets, at least temporarily, is gone. But I think these treatments that are coming on the market may offer a solution for them.
Well, there's NBA rules that are involved too, right? I mean, the NBA has its own set of rules as far as what you could and couldn't do, I guess. If you were...
Yeah, but that's not preventing Kyrie. Right. Because remember, there's guys like Bradley Beal that aren't vaccinated that are playing because there's no local ordinance that
right.
prevents him from playing his home games. This is all based on the New York ordinance. It's tougher. Like the protocols you have to go through if you're unvaccinated are certainly more difficult. The rules for flying on the plane, the rules of how you get your meals and stuff like that is certainly more challenging. They just are. But I think the real road bump for them is that local ordinance, and that local ordinance could be going away in the new year sometimes. I think we're going to have to get through the winter and everything like that with COVID. But I think these treatments really offer some optimism if you're a Brooklyn fan that he comes back around the All-Star game or something like that.
And he's not getting paid, right, for all of this, all these games that he's missing, or is he getting paid? Because you got to admire him, even if you think it's cockamamie, which I'm vaccinated. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I don't understand it,
yeah.
But you got to admire a person who is so strong in their conviction that they're willing to give up millions of dollars to stick to their guns.
I think he is getting paid half. That's the latest I've heard. So he has made himself available for road games. The team does not want him for road games, so he's getting paid. So for him, that's $16 million that he's getting, but he's leaving $16 million on the table if this plays out for the entire season.
Well, he can squeeze through on the $16 million, I suppose. Like you, I mean, you can get through. You can make it work. Somehow you cobble it together. You know what I mean? Go to Costco.
I'm trying to work with the numbers and maybe who knows? But
buy in bulk.
Jesus. Good God, Tom. I mean, yeah, right. Like Sam's Club membership's not that expensive.
Maybe exactly.
But so he's leaving something on the table, but it's not killing him.
Beau Estes with us, NBATV, NBA.com. What is more surprising? Chicago Bulls 10-4, Atlanta Hawks 6-9 with a 6-game losing streak in there somewhere. What are those two things is more surprising to you?
I think the Chicago Bulls' success is more surprising because you packed two new pieces together, and in a hurry, they found rhythm and chemistry. And they're really looking good against some good teams. Remember, Chicago went out to Golden State and played well in that game. They didn't win, but they played well. So I think they're a good team. I do think they're a very good team. They're perimeter oriented, and they're missing right now Nikola Vucevic, who's an all-star level center in the Eastern Conference, and they're still playing good. That's more surprising to me. I thought that the Atlanta Hawks might have a bit of a hangover after that. Let's be honest. Last year's run for the Atlanta version of this franchise is the greatest team they've ever put together because they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals twice. Last year they won some games in the Eastern Conference Finals. The time they went against LeBron in Cleveland, I believe it was 2016, they got swept out of there. So last year's run was the greatest they've ever had, and it was before they thought they would be that deep in the playoffs. I'm not surprised there was a bit of a hangover for them. Also, keep in mind this, they are overloaded with players, so trying to find a rotation and trying to keep everyone involved was a challenge. Now, DeAndre Hunter has just been injured, so he's going to be out for a while. That may make it, honestly, easier for the Hawks because they have so many available weapons that they can now pick and get a rotation locked in and start getting some wins. And they've done that now that they're back home. Remember, their losing streak was mostly on the road. I think they're going to be fine. I do think they're going to be fine in the end and do well. I don't know that they're an Eastern Conference Finals team. I really don't, but they could be. It's just a real challenge in the Eastern Conference. The Milwaukee Bucks have gotten off those slow starts. They have, to me, pretty clearly an MVP candidate in Giannis Antetokounmpo. That team should get rolling. Brooklyn should get rolling. The Philadelphia 76ers could get rolling, depending on how the Ben Simmons situation plays out. So there's a lot in the East to beat for the Hawks. But I think they have a talent and a chemistry to be, a mid-level playoff team this year and go on a run.
Is this Cleveland Cavalier thing real?
Evan Mobley's for real. I'll tell you that. They struck gold with this kid. They struck absolute gold. He's going to be out for a couple weeks now. But right now, he's the best-looking rookie out there. And the thing, I'll tell you this. I talked to a former Hawks general manager who told me that by day 3 in practice, when you get these players in there, you know if you've got something or not. Mm-hmm. And Cleveland knew right away they had a real stud in Evan Mobley. And it's a franchise-altering situation when you, with the number 3 pick, get a guy that you're like, we got an all-star. We have an absolute all-star, and there's no question about it. So that changes that franchise's direction. That changes their planning. That changes everything. He goes into L.A., and LeBron's pushing him, and he doesn't care. He's still performing well. That's the kind of player Evan Mobley is immediately in this league. So I think there is a lot of realness in their run, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how quickly that franchise changes plans and starts building towards being a playoff team.
And, of course, Lonzo Ball, part of that mix with the Chicago Bulls. He feels like he's 30, you know what I mean? But we refer to he's like 24 years old. And, 2 years in L.A., 2 years in New Orleans, and now playing for an iconic team with the Chicago Bulls. And it'd be interesting to see if he is going to take that next step. I mean, he's already getting paid $18 million. Does he take that next step to become a superstar in this league? But if I gave you one ball right now, LaMelo or Lonzo, I mean, who's the one you want?
There's no question it's LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy who's an assistant coach in the league right now who told me to my face that LaMelo Ball will one day be the face of the NBA. He's that good. Yep. No, he is.
You can't do that in Charlotte. You can't do that even if you're playing for Mike. You can't do that in Charlotte. I hate to say it. I used to say it about the other guys. Said about Anthony Davis when he was in New Orleans. And now maybe the kid in Milwaukee can do it, the Greek Freak, because he is committed to Milwaukee. And I really I think that's wonderful, the way he has committed himself to that community. I think he might end up playing his whole career up there. I thought they were going to have to get him out of there as well. But I think LaMelo Ball is going to have to be on the move at some point in time.
I think you can do it in Charlotte because I think, like you mentioned, Giannis Antetokounmpo has done it in Milwaukee. And Giannis' situation is unique. This is a kid who grew up at 10 years old helping support his family by selling souvenirs on the street in Athens and in Greece and stuff like that. This is a kid who, when he got his first NBA contract, was afraid to spend money at McDonald's. That's the sort of background of Giannis. So that's different than LaMelo Ball, who grew up in the limelight. In ninth grade, he was a star. I actually went back and watched the state championship game of his high school team when LaMelo was playing with Lonzo and LiAngelo. And, Tom, if I'm in ninth grade and I'm playing high school basketball in the state championship, I'm nervous as heck. Yeah. LaMelo thought he was the best player on the floor.
Right.
He's just one of those guys that has that mentality. So yeah, I take him over Lonzo, and I say that with a ton of respect for Lonzo because Lonzo has totally humbled himself and changed the way he shot the basketball and is now an effective three-point shooter, and that changes the trajectory of his career. You mentioned he's getting $18 million a year. That's nothing close to the max in this league. I know that's a lot of money, and to you and me, that's just seems like nuts. But he's not getting paid 30. He's not getting paid 35. He's not getting paid anything like that. But he is a tremendously effective player, Lonzo is. But LaMelo is a guy who's going to be all-star for years and years and years, commercials for years and years and years. And you're right. Like, look, one day LaMelo Ball at 25 ends up as the point guard for the Lakers running up and down the court like Magic Johnson. that is marketing gold, and that is face of the league sort of stuff. But with what Giannis has done, I think it's at least possible to happen in Charlotte.
I think they all should go to the Mecca. That's what I think. I think they all need to go there to the Mecca. Although I'm ticked off at those guys wearing those uniforms they've been wearing. I don't even know what that looks like. I want to watch a Knicks. They were playing decent early in the year. I want to watch a Knicks game. I want to look at them and see they look like the Knicks. I remember texting one of my sons. They always sent out a text at the beginning of the game, "Go Knicks." So I would watch the game, and I'm like, are they wearing their practice uniform? What is that? Is that their shoot around gear? Did somebody forget the uniforms? What the hell is that with the white numbers? And I don't know what they look like. But anyway,
let me tell you something. If Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden had congregated on the Knicks, there is no way in MSG those fans last night would have been chanting MVP to Steph Curry. It's a different story in Madison. There's just no way in the world. I mean, in Brooklyn, they're chanting MVP to Steph Curry. That's not happening in Madison Square Garden. There's no way on planet Earth that's happening. So that's one of those situations where you're like, boy, if all this is happening with Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden in a Knicks uniform, it just looks different. It feels different. And boy, there's a lot of happy network executives if that happened in a Knicks uniform as well.
And it's like 3 miles away. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like 3 miles away, but it's the same thing with an Islanders game out on the island versus a Rangers game, which is more than 3 miles away, but still, it was a totally different mindset in the fan base. Beau Estes has been our guest. Beau, enjoy Colorado and keep putting up those beautiful pictures. It's a gorgeous place. I got my daughter and her husband own some land out there, and they're always trying to get us to come out there. So, have fun with that, and I appreciate you joining us here to talk a little association.
Always great to chat with you, Tom. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. Beau Estes, NBATV, NBA.com. All right, we're going to break in here. When we come back, why is Dabo Swinney no longer a voter in the college football poll? We'll get into that. A little coaching carousel stuff and some other rankings that aren't politically correct, that are just raw data rankings. We'll get into that. Phone lines are open the rest of the show, 256-576-4977 on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Heads up, sports bettors. Right now you can try VSiN All Access free for 30 days with no credit card required. Visit vsin.com/free month to sign up now.
Tomorrow, Thursday Night Football, the New England Patriots on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. New England a 7-point road favorite, the over-under 47.5. Browns defensive end Myles Garrett still leads the way for NFL Defensive Player of the Year odds. As of this week, Garrett at plus 225, Trayvon Diggs at plus 350, and TJ Watt at plus 550. For Comeback Player of the Year, Dak Prescott still a big favorite, minus 500, Joe Burrow plus 800. Former pound-for-pound best boxer in the world, Terrence Crawford, will step into the ring for the first time in over a year Saturday, facing Sean Porter for the WBO welterweight title. Crawford minus 900 odds to defend his title. Porter, the challenger, at plus 500.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's another big week of high school football for us here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Quarterfinal action in 4A football is set to kick it up Friday night as the Madison Academy Mustangs travel to Good Hope, and a berth in the semifinals is on the line. It's Raiders and Mustangs coming up this Friday on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Nothing beats a great burger to celebrate Labor Day weekend. And at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar, we couldn't agree more. And if you haven't tried our chef-inspired expressions of pure burger amazingness, then now is your chance to sink your teeth into one of Bad Daddy's award-winning burgers for half price. Our Zone deal this week gets you $50 worth of delicious burgers made with premium Angus beef for just $25. Log on 977ESPN.com now and get your Bad Daddy's Zone deal before they're gone.
Hello, this is Kerry Rosenblum, Rosenblum Realty, and we're part of that MA family. It's great to see football season back in. And, we're at Rosenblum Realty trying to take care of all your real estate needs, whether home buying or selling. We'd like for you to put our 64 years of experience to work for you. We have 4-generation family ownership and, again, take a personal touch to taking care of your real estate needs. Call us at 256-539-9501 or rosenblumrealty.com.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage, gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
I wanna thank you. Thank you for making us your #1 choice for sports talk in North Alabama.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This is Paul Feinbaum. Listen to me coming up today at 2. Now back to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This segment of the show is brought to you by Valley Equipment Rental. At Valley Equipment Rental, they got everything. How about that? They just got everything. They've got big equipment. They got small equipment. They got, hand equipment, small hand tool type equipment that might be eyeball stuff that you don't normally have in your garage that you might need. And they have excavators and dozers and lifts and basically everything. And they're local. And you know what? If you don't have a rig, you don't have a truck and a trailer, and you say, look, I really need an excavator. I want to do this little project. They'll deliver it to you anywhere in the valley. They'll deliver it for you. They take care of it. It's Valley Equipment Rental. Ross Roberts and his crew. Again, I talk about people that I like and that I would use. And Ross Roberts and his crew do a tremendous job at Valley Equipment, and a second location coming in the spring as well for more equipment, bigger equipment even, at the new second location that is coming up. All right, phone lines are open, 256-576-4977. We'll get you in, 256-576-4977. Grizz, you mentioned something about watching Canada and Mexico play in an ice storm or something up north.
Yeah.
Did the U.S. team play last night, too? They drew
They drew
draw
Jamaica.
against Jamaica?
Yeah, Jamaica, yeah.
And this is a big deal?
Yeah, but U.S. is in first, so they're going to pretty much move on.
Oh.
Because they beat Mexico 2-0.
Okay, so picking up a point again. I mean, Jamaica's it's got like 42 people. I mean, we're the United States of America.
I mean, we lose.
Why are we tying with
every
Jamaica?
Every year we lose to Panama. I mean,
no.
we lose to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Stop.
I mean, we're gonna lose. I mean, it's just gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we shouldn't do that.
And I don't get it. I don't understand why there aren't any athletes that like real athletes apparently that want to play soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to play soccer. I love soccer, to be honest with you. I love playing the sport. Playing the sport is fun. You know, people don't like to watch it, but playing it is actually a lot of fun. But you know, it's just ridiculous how you can't get like the LeBron. I mean, Pulisic is probably the LeBron James of
well, our best athletes don't do it. I've said it
exactly,
over and over.
Yeah.
If our best athletes all were playing soccer like they do in Europe, we would kick everybody's butt. You know, if you had Adrian Peterson out there on one wing and Chris Johnson on the other, and you had LeBron, you had Kevin Durant in goal.
LeBron James could have played a
score.
goalie. I mean, yeah,
or LeBron. You have one of those guys in net. You know, I mean, forget about it. But it doesn't happen that way. Jerry Palm had an interesting thing to say about Notre Dame and Cincinnati regarding the fact that Notre Dame is sitting now in the 8 hole, and some people think that Notre Dame could jump Cincinnati if they go 11-1, which would be, again, one of those situations where you discount what happened on the field and say that, but this other team is still better. Jerry Palm said, speaking of Cincinnati, there's some speculation in various places that Notre Dame at 11-1 could jump the undefeated Bearcats for a spot in the playoff. That belief is based on the Fighting Irish having a much stronger schedule and the committee already ignoring head-to-head once this season by putting Michigan ahead of Michigan State. Let's make this as clear as possible. Even though Notre Dame crept one spot closer in the rankings this week, there's no chance that the Irish will finish ahead of an unbeaten Bearcats team. I honestly believe that Michigan is getting the benefit of the doubt on the fact that they got screwed on a call in that game. I really believe that that's part of the mindset there, that Michigan got the shaft in the game against Michigan State, and Michigan State scored late touchdowns to come back and beat them and all that Michigan was the better team in that game, and they got the shaft on a touchdown. I think that's why the committee is treating them that way. Oregon at Ohio State, that would be a tougher pill to swallow because Oregon won that game. I know it was 35-28, but it didn't feel like it was really that close, even in that particular case. It was 35-28, and Ohio State never led the game. I mean, it's 14-7, 21-7, 21-14, 28-14, 35-21. Oregon led that game 7-14, 7-14, 7-14. Ohio State scores 2 touchdowns late to pull it to within, 35-21, or 35-28, but Oregon basically controlled the entire football game. That wasn't the case in the Michigan State game. I think that's part of the mindset in that game. Now, having said that, Michigan or Ohio State had 612 yards against Oregon. Oregon had 500 yards. Ohio State had 612, but they were from behind the whole time. So when you're from behind the whole time, I think that's part of the deal. Dabo Swinney, though, is no longer a voter in the coaches poll. He said that he caught so much flack last year after he ranked Ohio State lower than the other coaches had ranked Ohio State. He said, quote, because of all the drama last year, that was just a distraction for my team based on what I felt. So I just thought it was something that I could just eliminate. And then here's the money shot, Grizz. Doesn't matter anyway. Who cares? Close quote. And you know what? This is a point that I have been trying to make. At least one of the two, the AP or the coaches poll, who the hell cares? We have a college football playoff committee poll that decides who's going where. Not only in the college football playoff, but they're deciding who's going where in the New Year's 6 bowl games. So Dabo is right. Who the hell cares? And I have always been against the coaches poll because the coaches poll is not the coaches poll in the most part. It is the assistant SID student slappy poll that gets put on the coach's desk, and then he said, no, put this team ahead of this team, that team, and that's it. The coaches don't spend any time, and coaches don't see anything. It was the thing I hated most about being a college football coach. I didn't see any games. The only thing I ever saw was my team, the opponent we were playing, and who the opponent played in their games. So I would sit there and look at all the film of all of the games that our upcoming opponent would play, so I'd see those teams. But there's no coach in the SEC that's hanging around watching Pac-12 at night games. They're not even watching. What do you think? They're sitting in the locker room before their game at night watching a Big Ten game at 11 o'clock in the morning? They don't get to watch the game. They don't know. All you know is who you've played and who you're going to play and who's on your schedule and who they have played. It's a waste of time, and it doesn't matter. Who cares? Dabo is right. Who the hell cares? Now, the AP, if you want to have a poll for the sake of polls, all right. You want to do that for fan interest and discussion and so on, that's fine. Have one. I wouldn't even, I've said it time and time again, I wouldn't have a poll come out till after 4 weeks. At least after 4 weeks. They wait till about 7 weeks with the playoff poll. I would say at least 4 weeks. You don't know anything early on. You think you know, and then you pigeonhole these people. Now, Power Rankings Guru is a site that, powerrankingsguru.com. It is a site that uses all of the computers on the web to determine each team's average ranking and the strength of schedule. By the way, in strength of schedule, the number one most difficult schedule in the country has been Purdue, followed by Indiana, then LSU, Wisconsin, Miami, TCU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, West Virginia, Illinois. Those are your top 10 most difficult schedules. A lot of those schedules are similar. Like Mississippi State and Ole Miss are 7 and 8, well, they're playing the same schedule. And I always say this. People say about Alabama's schedule. Well, Alabama's schedule. Well, here's the thing. Here's the problem for Alabama versus everybody else in the SEC West. Alabama doesn't have Alabama on its schedule. Everybody else gets the benefit of, well, played Alabama. They're 9-1. Alabama doesn't have Alabama on their schedule. So that's what it happens that way. If you're in a division and you're playing similar schedules, what is the difference between Alabama's schedule, Arkansas's schedule, Ole Miss's schedule, and Mississippi State's schedule, and LSU's schedule? You know what the difference is in all of those teams? That all of those other teams have Alabama on their schedule. So if you're numbers driven, that's the way it works out.
And it's like, do you think a lot of times if you look later in the year, rankings kind of factor in, kind of like Wisconsin right now. They're winning ball games. They're number 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're doing what they're able to do.
Number 4 schedule in the country.
Yeah, and then you're looking at Georgia, who we always talk about every single week. They don't play a team. They don't play a team. They don't play a team. But really, I mean, if you look at the East, I mean, the East is just really bad.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, they're steamrolling everybody, and it's just like, how? I mean, what is their schedule?
Well, that's key, Grizz. You just made a key point. They're steamrolling everybody. That's why when you look at Cincinnati and you say, look, Cincinnati, Georgia's schedule, by the way, is number 17 in the country.
Okay.
Cincinnati's schedule is number 100.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They're not dominating it. Not only is it number 100, but they're not dominating the schedule that they're playing. So if you're going to play a crap schedule, the least you can do is dominate that crap schedule. You need to dominate it. So when you take the political correctness and the fairness out of the mix, Power Rankings Guru, that combines all of the computers and how you're winning these games and so on. Power Rankings Guru has Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Oklahoma State, and Cincinnati, number 9. The Sagarin ratings, which use a bunch of different data, has Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, number 4. Notre Dame, Michigan, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Cincinnati, number 9, with the 100th most difficult schedule in the nation. This is what it is. All right, let me get Grumpy in here so he can make his case for Cincinnati. I'll give him 2 minutes. I got to get to the break. Grumpy, what's going on?
Hey, you were talking about deserving.
Yeah.
If Alabama loses to Georgia, should they be in the top 4 and go to the playoffs?
Right.
If Alabama, okay, is Auburn a good football team? The word good, we need to clarify what good is. Is Auburn a good football team?
I think they're slightly better than average.
I
don't know what good. I don't know how you define good. I think they're an 8-4 type of football team. So they're not bad.
Okay, but they're not good.
Not good. They're not a good team. No, they're not a good team. They're unranked. They're not a top 25 team.
So we've established what good is, and so I'll apply that to Alabama's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama will have played, if they lose to Georgia, they will have played 4 good teams and lost to 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
No, they don't deserve to go to the championship.
Yeah, well, and I'm with you on that. I don't think they deserve to, because I think what happens on the field means something. I think that means something. I think you have to say that it means something. I think this, in terms of what you just said, I think Alabama winning at places like LSU and Auburn is more valuable than Cincinnati winning at places like Tulane and Miami, Ohio, or Temple, or Tulsa, or at USF. You know what I mean? I think that if Cincinnati had to go play a mediocre LSU team and a slightly better than average Auburn team on the road, that they better show up better than they did against Navy and Tulane and Tulsa, because they get whacked in those games.
I don't know. They won the ball games.
They won. They won.
My point is Alabama will have played 4 good teams and lost to 2 of them.
Right.
So no, Alabama would have no. I don't think they would have an argument. Most Alabama fans, they're not used to losing ball games. They're used to saying we deserve to go. Well, this is one year where you might not deserve to go, and a lot of Alabama fans just can't handle it.
Right. Well, and the same thing would happen with like Oregon. I think there's a lot of Alabama fans that would be okay with that. I think you got to win games.
The ones
still.
you hang out with, yeah, the ones with suit and ties on, but the average one, no, they can't handle it.
Yeah, because I mean, the same thing will happen. Like if Oregon gets tagged with a second loss, or Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State gets tagged with a second loss, you'll have the same scenario. You'll sit there and you'll say, yeah, they're probably better. They may be better. They wouldn't have gotten a loss if they had played Cincinnati's schedule, but can you lose 2 games and still get to go? If Ohio State beats Michigan and Michigan State, then do you really think that? I don't think that Cincinnati's beating Michigan and Michigan State. But if Ohio State beats Michigan State and Michigan in the next 2 weeks and then loses a close game to Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, let me tell you something. They're not going. I don't think Ohio State's going at 11-2 either. But in your heart of hearts that if Cincinnati played Ohio State's schedule and had to play Michigan and Michigan State and Wisconsin and Purdue and all of these people, they probably are 8-2 in the regular season.
Let me say this:
9-3, 10-2. Yeah.
Everybody was blowing sunshine up, Sankey stanky, and saying how great the SEC commissioner was. And I think that we paid a heavy, heavy price to get Texas and Oklahoma into the SEC. I think that we could have had a 12-team playoff. We could have had a lot more enjoyable football. And because he sat down at the table with all these presidents of the universities and behind the back was working the scenes, when it came time to make the phone calls to iron out the playoffs, they all turned their back on Sankey. Am I wrong?
A little bit. He didn't want to. He didn't want. And thanks for the call, Grumpy. I got to get to the break. Greg Sankey said on this show he did not want a 12-team playoff. He was capitulating to it because everybody else wanted it. He didn't want it anyway. He says, "I'm fine with the 4-team playoff. We're always going to get 1 and maybe 2." He said, "I'm fine with the 4-team playoff." But yeah, and I think 12 is too many, and I think we're not having this discussion, and that would suck. I love this discussion. I think that in a way, maybe this is better. but I would like an 8-team playoff. We'll be back and wrap it up next on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You're listening to the Thom Abraham Show on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Thom Abraham here from my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
Take your taste buds back in time with a trip to the all-new Bubby's Diner, offering a variety of mouth-watering food from delicious starters to 50-style diner food and meat-and-three meals, featuring owner and Huntsville native Chris Bubby Belcher's family's homemade recipes. Open Monday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 8412 Whitesburg Drive in the former Gibson's Barbecue. Drive-in, drive-through, carry-out, or curbside pickup with delivery coming soon through Grub South. Bubby's Diner, home of the Donut Burger.
Valley Equipment Rental. Pretty self-explanatory name, no? Thom Abraham here. And look, Valley Equipment Rental is all over the Tennessee Valley, and they rent equipment, all kinds of equipment, and not just to the contractors out there, but to you, the general public, as well. Need a skid steer or an excavator? Well, they've got over 40 units to make sure they've got one for you. From huge boom lifts to miscellaneous hand tools, it's at Valley Equipment Rental on the South Parkway. And soon, they'll have a second location to handle even more equipment. More on that to come.
Hey friends, Eli Gold here for Environmental Comfort Systems. If you're concerned about the air quality inside your home, give my friend Rick Smith a call at Environmental Comfort Systems. Their indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of indoor air contaminants. Give the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and see how comfortable you can be. Breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Isn't the story of the prodigal son an amazing story? Basically, a rowdy boy who literally wished his father dead ran away and consumed his wealth with hard and fast living. Yet the father looked for his return every day, and when the boy got tired of eating pig slop, he decided to return. What did the father do? As soon as he saw that boy, he ran to him, threw his arms around him, and killed the fatted calf for a great celebration. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of the Cross Point Church. If you're looking for a church home, come see us, smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison.
Orange is the color of power, of progress, the color of Kubota and Huntsville Tractor and Equipment. Those who need to get things done, trust Kubota's L and M Series tractors, zero-turn mowers, the fun sidekick, from one of the top dealers in the country. More than 50 years of family service, every part in the book, and folks who know what to do with them. You'll be seeing Orange with Huntsville Tractor and Equipment.
Come on, let's go to work.
People stay just a little bit longer. We want to play just a little bit longer. The promoter don't mind.
Welcome back, Thom Abraham Show. This segment brought to you by TOC Sports for all your injury needs, surgical or otherwise. TOC Sports is the ones that will take care of it for you. Check out TOC Sports and look, it's when your doctor tells you need an orthopedic, you say to your doc, hey, I want to see the docs at TOC Sports. That's it. That's the end of it. And they'll say, okay, that's fine. Probably was sending you there anyway, but TOC Sports is the answer. And it's great to partner with TOC Sports again this year on the Huntsville City Classic as well, which is going to be fantastic at holiday time coming up later on in December. It's good to have the City Classic back. All right, Grizz, final segment here, and let me just throw this in.
What's up?
Should we give Deion Sanders credit for, or blame for what happened with Jackson State, for what he said after the incident in their win over Southern last week. I mean, this isn't the first time that a team tried to plant a flag. If you didn't see it, Jackson State beat Southern, and they're big rivals. Jackson State moving on to 9-1, and then one of the Jackson State players had the flag, the J of the JSU.
Tried to pull a Baker Mayfield.
Tried to pull a Baker Mayfield. Well, Jacksonville State did it. I don't like it. I don't like it when Baker did it. I don't like it when Jacksonville State did it.
I saw the video
FSU.
before the game where, like, the Jackson State team walked out or whatever and had, like, this big hype video, kind of like how the 49ers kind of did it. But
like the Titans. Like, and remember the Titans?
Yeah.
You know, when they're singing the song, when they come out and they're all like,
oh, yeah.
You know, when, you know that maybe they were going, you know, maybe they were thinking that way. Maybe they, you know.
We are the Titans. We are the Titans. Titans.
No, maybe they were coming out like that. But here's the thing. We blame Deion for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think Deion actually handled it really well afterwards. He apologized. He said that his team acted like a bunch of idiots. He apologized to the other coach. He apologized to the university. He apologized to his university. He said we just acted like a bunch of idiots after that game. So I give him credit for reacting that way. But I tell you what, it's a coaching thing going in.
It's discipline.
You coach class.
Yeah, class, discipline. I mean, just have respect for your school and others.
You and that's how you can get taunting out too. You coach it up, and you tell a kid, you pull a stunt like that, you'll be suspended for the next game. Just tell the kids that going in August. All right, coming up next, it's Chuck Oliver right here on your home for everything that matters. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
Everybody knows the fun begins when you get to the end zone, where you can enjoy half-price apps every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, half-price burgers every Tuesday, plus late-night pizza specials and a spectacular menu that includes